Hey guys, welcome to Finally Clicked, the podcast where we discuss business, leadership, and personal development. My name is Margaret Smith, and I'm the Director of Operations for Pickett Street Properties, a real estate team out of Bothell, Washington. And I'll be here every week with our owner and team leader, Jesse D. Moore. We'll be digging into concepts and ideas that have helped us both personally and professionally, and you'll also get a chance to hear from local and national experts that we know provide massive value to get to the point where it all finally clicks.
Ready. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Finally Clicked, hosted by yours truly, voiceover actor, philosophizer, energy healer.
There you go.
Jesse D. Moore. And joined by my co-host, Margaret McCulley Smith, healer of light, wielder of might.
Ooh, I like that one.
With shoulders slight.
Are we going to do like a poetry slam this time? That might be like really good.
Yeah.
But no, I think today is actually Jesse's, what do we call this? Instagram corner with Jesse.
Oh, that's later.
Oh, later? Okay.
We're going to tease that.
Okay.
Later in this episode, there will be Jesse reads from Instagram.
Yes. I'm excited.
We closed on it was funny that last week, well, not funny, haha.
Yeah.
Last week we talked about acquiring off-market properties, and Jessica closed on an off-market property yesterday. Mm-hmm. Congratulations, Jessica.
Congratulations.
Way to take what we've taught you
and do it.
Use it in a practical way.
No, I loved how she's mentioned in our meeting this week that she loves deals that are complicated because she feels like she learns so much. She's such a learner. The girl soaks it up like nobody I've ever seen. She gets so excited. So she came into our office yesterday and she's like, "It closed, you guys. It closed. It's off market. Pre-foreclosure. My first ever." She was really stoked.
Should I read you the text she sent me this morning?
Oh yeah.
Right after that.
On this Valentine's Day.
After the jubilation.
Yeah.
She said, "This is what I woke up to. Last night was pretty hectic. Seller had nothing out. Everything was packed, but not out. Between myself, my boyfriend, I'm saying boyfriend instead of his name.
Yeah.
My friend, the seller's ex-wife, her fiance, and my client's contractor friend, we helped him load his U-Haul.
Wow.
Complete denial. I'm going there shortly to meet the contractor who's bringing a dump trailer since there's so much shit left."
Oh, jeez.
So, the jubilation of acquiring an off-market property
Yeah.
is just as great as the disappointment of things not going like a standard transaction.
Yeah. She's really, you have to kind of go above and beyond because you got to deal with stuff like this. People don't want to leave the property. It's not of their own volition anyways. I'm so proud of her though. Yeah. It is pretty crazy. That was just the episode we did last Friday.
Yeah. This episode, we're going to focus on something a little different. We're going to do a little book review, book report.
Mm-hmm. A book report. Oh,
book report with Jesse and Margaret. A reading.
A reading.
We move from the poetry slam to a light reading.
I feel like this reminds me of something my dad used to have me listen to. It's like people go on not podcasts, but just and not audiobooks.
Radio?
Possibly. But have you heard of those radio stations where they just read through plays or they read through?
Oh yeah. Yeah, like when War of the Worlds type stuff. Yeah. No, I feel like Orson Welles when I read these things. Today we are going to be discussing the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. Mm-hmm. This book is older.
2011, I think.
Let me look.
If you have not read it, put it on your list.
Yeah, 2011. So 9 years old. But the ideas are relevant to today. I'm just giving you context for how old it is because Grant Cardone is a well-established brand I think, at this point. Mm-hmm. But this is the first book I've ever read of his.
Me as well.
And I have to say, I'm super happy with this pick. Mm-hmm. I think, reading business books can be challenging because there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
Most things that have worked or lead to success have been discussed and written about and published many times before. Mm-hmm. And so that can make me a little bit of a skeptic as a new book buyer. Mm-hmm. But he really, I'm amazed. I listened to the audiobook and you could hear it's just like Grant talks. Like, I've listened to Grant on podcasts. I've listened to interviews with him. And this book reads just like he's talking to an old friend or to a neighbor or to any of us. And so it's rich with material.
It is.
Like, there's so much that he discusses that's so great. And I don't really feel like there's a weak spot in this book.
I'd agree with that. And usually I feel like if there is one, it's pretty obvious to us if we don't identify with the part.
So first off, just an overall recommendation. Mm-hmm. If you haven't read this book, I highly recommend it. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a great book to read as a team. Mm-hmm. Everyone, as far as keeping people accountable to mindset, this is a great book for that. And so I think reading with people, this book specifically, it'll make a impact, make a difference.
Agreed.
What you got highlighted there, Margaret? Margaret reads. Well, the 10X rule.
I was trying to think of what I would share first or what I think hit me the most, but I have to say...
well, we should probably explain what the 10X rule is.
Yeah.
Basically, right? So Grant Cardone explains that and I've talked about it on this podcast before, and this is his philosophy that I kind of fell in love with, which is he never felt more broke than when he had like $1 million or $2 million in the bank. Mm-hmm. And it's because of his mindset. Mm-hmm. Having come from nothing and accrued some wealth, it changed how he operated. Mm-hmm. And so then instead of being bold and taking risks, he became more passive, and he wasn't putting as much on the line. And he was suffering because of it. He wasn't as fulfilled. He wasn't growing in ways that he wanted. He was unhappy and depressed. And the 10X rule is basically whatever it is that you're doing, 10X it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is you're thinking, 10X it. Whatever your goal is, 10X it. And then instead of just thinking small or thinking kind of big, think gigantic. Mm-hmm. Like, how can you make this goal so unattainable? Yeah. And then what actions can you take to try to reach it?
Which is kind of opposite of what you hear recommended by a lot of people who talk about personal development. They're like, make it attainable, make the goal, smart, make a SMART goal, which is like, I forget what it stands for. Measurable, actionable, all these different things. And he says his one regret in life so far is not thinking big enough. And that just hit home for me too, because it's like in the very first chapter, when he describes what the 10X rule says, he says, the 10X rule is the one thing that will guarantee that you will get what you want in amounts greater than you ever thought imaginable. And it can work in every area of your life: spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, familial, financial. And it's based on the understanding of how much effort and thought are required to get anything done successfully. And so, I think I loved that, just thinking about that concept first, because it's, even myself included, it's hard to understand how much time goes into something, and you will never know until you start. And oftentimes it takes a lot longer for us to do certain things because we just spend time thinking about doing it.
Oh yeah.
It happens to me totally.
No, this book, I think one of the reasons I love this book is because he calls me out on my thinking, right? Like, so much of it speaks to me in a way. In
which part?
Well, for instance, like me, I I've set goals where I go, I want them to be realistic because it's disheartening if they're too big and too out
and you
of
don't
reach
reach them. Yeah.
But I also don't 10x my activity to try to reach them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer that if you're smart enough, you can figure out anything. You can figure out your way out of anything. And so if we wanted to sell 2,000 homes a year, then I think you and I are smart enough to figure that out.
Totally.
But we're not doing it.
Yeah.
And so this has been on my mind a lot. I've been meeting with some other real estate business owners and talking to them, and I'm just realizing more and more how some of my thinking has trapped me, has kept me in a small pen.
What do you think that's from?
I think my story is a little different than everybody else's, perhaps. I think I was sad. I think I withdrew from society a little bit. I withdrew from networking. I withdrew from wanting to be in front of people. And I think it was because I had to spend so much energy on my personal life. And I was also trying to figure out who I was and what I believed in. And when you aren't
That's a whole lot of personal work. Yeah.
Then you don't want to meet with people.
True. Yeah.
Because they're going to ask you how you're doing. And I don't want to sound like a crazy person.
Yeah.
And I have before. I've had conversations with people where I say something because I'm trying to be honest and transparent. And I'm sure they walked away from the conversation going, what is wrong with him? Like, what? That's not the Jesse I knew.
Which is funny that you say that, because I was just having this conversation with, I guess it was Jen Stalcup from Agent Reeboks. We did a podcast episode yesterday, and I said, why can't people join me in my journey? And so, why couldn't that person sit with you at that lunch and join you in that moment and not think, oh, that sounds crazy? Why do they have to wait until we've gone through something to the end result, Why can't they just support you along the way? And I think I just have to stop thinking about the why and just understand that some people can't. Some people can't be there for you for the journey, which is too bad, because I kind of like seeing, for you example, I like seeing now the before and the after of the Jesse, because I saw you all the way through. And that really shows me the work that you've put in, the time you've put in, the effort. Because like you said, there was so much energy that you had to pour into your personal life that you didn't have anything left hardly for the business part. And that's not shameful. That's actually the fact that you did the work is the part I want to focus on. You did the work for yourself, because without that, you can't have the success professionally.
Yeah, exactly.
That just came out. I had to say it.
No,
I want to be there for the journey for people. I want to see someone when they're broken, because when they come back together, it's magical for me. And those are the kind of humans I want to hang around with, and people who want to be with me when I'm not at my end point yet.
Well, I was believing a lie that I was telling myself, which was that I wasn't ready. And this is all an inner dialogue, right? It's not based on reality so much. So I think I was just telling myself a narrative, and rather than proving it to be true, I just hid in the shadows for a while. And so anyway, Grant Cardone really calls me out, and I like books that call me out. The term we say in Montana is he read my mail.
That's a Montana term?
Well, I don't know. It's probably not just Montana term, but the idea that somebody could know something about you when they don't know you.
Sure, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Is like they opened your mail and read it. And
that's an amazing feeling, actually. Yeah. It reminded me too of a friend that I grew up with. We used to say, I don't feel like I'm that smart. I just work really hard. And it's not true. I know that I am an intelligent person, and though I do feel like because of my persistence and self-discipline, that's really what's gotten me the farthest. It's not any book intelligence or smarts that I have. It's my willingness to just persist until I achieve. And I think that's what he talks about in here that really hits home for me is just the fact that 10X just literally means try that many more times.
I like Breaking Out of the Middle Class is one of his chapters.
Yeah.
And that's a great chapter if you think your goals aren't big enough.
That's what I'm struggling with. Yeah.
And it's the idea. What's great about this chapter is he's like, no one like sets a goal to be in the middle class. Like no one's setting a goal to just be able to pay their, pay their bills. And he's like, so like, why not set goals that are so much bigger than that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why not make a goal to be, courtside at the Lakers game? And
I think didn't he take that and go on to, this is the part that Jaggles really identified with. He said, it's your duty. Which I thought was interesting. It's your duty to your family.
Success is your duty, chapter 4.
Okay. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree in that, like with Jill and I, my philosophy in our relationship is that I have to win her affection every day.
Yeah.
Like I have to wake up and I have to achieve and I have to be kind and I have to be that person she loves. I have to be that person every day. And if I stop showing up that way, then she's going to stop. That relationship could end, right? And so I like the idea. I'm motivated by saying, hey, I want my kids to be able to do this or experience this. And then I want Jill and I to be able to do these things, experience these things. Like to me, I get it. Why would I work so hard? Why would I spend just as much time to barely make it?
Yeah.
When I can spend the same amount of time achieving greatness. And then chapter 12 is obsession isn't a disease, it's a gift. I love it when people talk about obsessive behavior because I have a lot of it. And sometimes I try to dumb it down or I make excuses for it or I try to make it go away. And he really just pluses it up. He just basically is saying your obsession is a gift. That's what makes you unique. And that's what makes him achieve so much in life.
I think the part that I identified on, I have to go back to some of the earlier chapters real quick, is what happens when you start to achieve. And so when you start to achieve and you kind of rise above the average player, what kind of responses you get from people around you, and recognizing that that's part of the process. And so I think in these last 2 years, I've really started to embrace the haters, meaning if I don't have somebody talking about me, probably on a weekly or monthly basis, then I'm not doing something enough. And it's just reassuring, I guess, to read that from somebody else who's obviously had such success. People are going to try and take it from you. People are going to try and bring you down. People are going to try and cut you because they don't want you succeeding because it doesn't feel good to them. Makes them feel average.
Yeah, I caught myself having a negative thought about somebody who was in a position I was probably jealous of, and I had to like I called myself out on it.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, really, Jesse? You have this negative thought about somebody?
Good for you.
Who is like a super high achiever and is super smart, and you probably don't actually have a problem with anything that they're doing other than you're not doing it.
Good for you. Dang. Yeah. I think it's pretty natural for us to fall into that. The bigger thing is having the self-awareness to realize when you're doing it.
I think this is a parallel I hadn't thought of before, but I'll just say it. This book reminds me of Tim Ferriss's work a little bit, in that it's very stream of consciousness, but it has structure and an order. Chapter 22 is one of my favorites. It's called Successful or Unsuccessful. And he lists out, he goes over like 32 different categories of success or conditions of success. Like be highly ethical, commit first, figure it out later, create your own reality, embrace change, break traditional ideas. Like there's just, he has so many great thoughts, and he just deep dives on this whole idea of how to be successful and how to go after tremendous goals.
Did you have one in particular that stuck out to you?
I mean, so many, I think, relate to me. Like, believe that I will figure it out. I just talked about that, right? Like, I believe we're smart enough to figure anything out.
Yeah.
Have a can-do attitude. Focus on opportunity. I love opportunities, and more opportunities happen, the more successful you are, right, in converting them.
I loved how he said, number 16 is demonstrate courage. So before you start thinking that they are somehow inherently different, you should understand that they acquired these qualities as a result of taking action. So the more frequently you can do things that scare you a bit, the more others will label you as courageous and then gravitate toward you. I've realized, I talk about this a lot with admin, that I tell them now I'm kind of addicted to it. And I think I said this to you like on the second year in Pickett Street when you did an exercise with me called The Book. And I said, you realize what you've done. And you were like, what did I do? And I was like, it's like you've released the beast. It's like I've found that if I'm not scared at least once a day, I'm not doing something. And I don't know why, but that is my obsession. I'll honestly admit it is my obsession to like scare myself, because I like the adrenaline now. I'm like, I don't feel alive. It's like, it's a problem. It is.
Are you like posting pictures of tarantulas around corners?
I should, because that scares the shit out of me. But no, it's like that one really hit me.
Yeah, like, and for be dangerous, he says, since you were a child, someone has been trying to keep you from danger.
Oh, yeah.
Be careful is the mantra that parents repeat to their children while buying products from entire industries that have been created just to safe-proof a home in order to protect a child. Unfortunately, many people get to the point where they're so intent upon avoiding danger that they cease to truly live life. If you look back over your life, you'll probably see that you have done yourself just as much or even more harm by being careful than by being dangerous. Yeah, the more I think about his words, the more I realize everything is about, it's about many things, but it's about success being sequential, not simultaneous. Gary Keller's saying. And what I mean by that is by having enough leverage that you have enough people taking sequential action to get things done. So if you have enough people and they all are moving the ball forward every moment of every day, you're going to accomplish amazing things. So we limit ourselves, and we put ourselves in boxes saying we can't do this. It's too big or it's too scary.
So true.
And the reality is like we can do it. It's just going to take some work and planning and
finding the people that want to do that action and take the initiative. I won't mention any names, but you gave me some great perspective the other day when I said I was on a call with a group of admin in the last couple weeks, and I take calls with groups, for a half hour or whatever, just to help them out. And I gave them an activity to do prior to the phone call. And I didn't say this is officially homework, but I said, this is what I want you to do. And there were only 2 people out of the group of like 20 that actually did it. And so in the team meeting, do you remember what you said? You said, let's talk about the Pareto principle.
Oh, Pareto principle, yeah. Yeah, so I just said, well, that makes sense. It makes sense that out of a class of 40 people or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that Pareto principle is the 80% of your actions, 20% of your actions yields 80% of the result. Or so in a automobile sales office, 20% of the sales staff is responsible for 80% of the sales. And so in a classroom, if you ask them, hey, voluntarily do this work, out of 40 people, you should have 8 tops that are so, and probably less, right? I would probably have that to 4 people, because really the Pareto principle used to be 20 and 80 pretty consistently. And I feel like with the advance of technology and population density. I think it's more like 90-10 now.
Yeah.
Where you have 10% of the people generating 90% of the results.
Yeah.
And so in that class, if you did this type of assignment, I'd expect maybe 4 people out of 40 to do them, and you ended up with 2.
Mm-hmm.
So as a leader in an organization, that would tell me I'm underperforming.
Mm-hmm.
My people are underperforming. I have a people problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for a minute, I kind of hit myself over the head when you said that, and I've been thinking about it more and thinking, I think I take for granted the fact that I take action. And I'm realizing, it's a repeated theme in all these books we read: take action, take action, take action. And again, I'm just wrote down this quote because nobody else will. Nobody else will. So if you do it, you're going to be one of those 2 people out of those groups of 40 that actually did it. And I'm realizing how important that is just as a baby step to remember. Anyways, it really hit me when you said that.
If people wrote down what they did during the workday, they would be embarrassed.
Yeah.
About how many things they accomplished.
Yeah.
Most people, that's true.
Yeah.
And you are a doer. You just are, and that's one of your greatest attributes. But I do mean it. Like I want doers on this team,
mm-hmm.
and I want as many of them as I can find. And the simple reality is that if we don't have that, then we have people that are not doers, and we are okay with it,
mm-hmm.
or we allow ourselves to be okay with
mm-hmm.
it when really we shouldn't.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, this was a fantastic read.
I would recommend this book for people that are maybe burnt out or they've lost their team and they won't need to rebuild it,
mm-hmm.
and they feel like they can't. I had this conversation yesterday with somebody. I mean, we know a lot of teams that have burned out.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah.
Like the team leader
over the 7 years I've been here
started, and then they grew naturally and organically, and then, as often happens, there's like a mass exodus at some point. And some people can't pick themselves up again
mm-hmm.
from that and do it again.
I can totally identify with that.
And
yeah,
there have been times when you and I weren't sure about it.
Yeah.
But I it's not a question in my mind anymore. Like, it's like I'm rebuilding every time. And it's just because this is the model we've decided to follow. And I believe in leverage, and I don't want to be one person that thinks small and has a small business
mm-hmm.
and no leverage. So it's there. Anyway, I do recommend this book if you know anyone that's burned out or they're struggling. If they once had success
mm-hmm.
and now they have maybe a bad attitude.
Mm-hmm. I think he also said in some part of the book, I think it was the beginning, where he said, this is also the book for that person who doesn't know what they're missing, who doesn't realize that they're not 10xing it.
Right.
And I loved that because I won't, yeah. There's a lot of people I could give this book to that I just feel like they're not aware. And this might bring some awareness, or it might not. Who knows? Maybe it won't hit them.
This is a book I think I'm going to try to read, continue to read for
mm-hmm.
the next 12 months.
Yeah. That's
over
a good
and over
idea.
Again,
yeah.
And just try to really take notes and
mm-hmm.
pull out some
I am
going to
reach
parts.
out to him and see if we can get him on here.
I'm sure we can. Grant's a talkative person. In fact, one of the principles of the book is omnipresence, which is he wants to be everywhere.
True.
And this hit me like a ton of bricks, because we talked about this. We have great team members. We provide a high level of expertise. We just need more people to know it.
Exactly.
Well, in order for more people to know it, we have to tell people.
Yeah.
We have to get in front of people. And so he said yes to everything.
True.
Anything.
All right, I'm going to mention that in my email to him.
He would talk about NBA, or he talked about how he was supposed to be talking about economics or something, or sales on a newscast, and then right beforehand they said, "Can you talk about basketball instead?" And he did it because he wanted the exposure.
Yeah.
He wanted the opportunity, and so for us, it's getting out there and telling people about us, and it's just networking and doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So this book helped me realize that it takes just as much time and effort to do well, to be great, than to be average. And it takes just as much time and effort to be nice and kind as it does to be rude and angry. You know, like certain things don't come naturally to me, and that takes some effort, but it's not that much effort.
Yeah, what was that part in the book where he said that? You expend the same amount of energy doing nothing as you do doing something.
Yeah,
something like that.
That's the whole part of the 10X rule.
Yeah.
And the whole principle behind it is that
you're here anyways.
You're here anyway.
Yeah, like do something with your time. Yeah.
You guys, I wish you could see Margaret when she's got her head
soon they'll be able to
tilted back, and her eyes are wandering the skies.
It does like when people will be able to see us visually.
You have such a visual response.
I know. I'm
not
not
contemplative, and you're like, and your eyes wander.
And I can't control it. So when we get on YouTube, it's just I'm sure it's just going to be very entertaining for people. Is it time for Instagram stories?
I don't know. That was a very quick segment on the book.
No, it's okay. I think we speak concisely.
All right. Let me pull it up. You better share something.
Okay. Well, I'll share that today. As you'll see, I did post to Instagram. And don't worry, I didn't type it out with my fingers. I typed it out. Well, not on my phone.
_Margaret_Smith.
That is my Instagram handle. So I pre-typed it in my notes on my computer so that I could just copy and paste because it was rather long. And so I'm realizing, you're part of this inspiration. I really love to write. And when I'm in the flow, when I feel good about it, stuff just pours out.
Did you write this?
I did. I wrote it. It's about Valentine's Day.
Holy shit.
And it's about being yourself. And then I
continued in comments. It's 7 paragraphs long.
There's 2 comments.
And then continued in comments. What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's true.
And they're long comments.
They are. I had a lot to pour out there.
Oh my gosh. Eyes are bleeding.
So you guys can check it out.
Dare you. I give you permission to be you today.
That's right.
And walk a little taller in the knowledge that you are loved just as you are.
Exactly.
Stick out a bit more than usual. I walked in and sat down in the back in the middle of nobody because I wanted to be sure I could keep to myself.
Oh my God, are you picking mine to read?
I've been incredibly shy for most of my life. I like how that's in quotes. Like what?
Because that's what I'm
Who's
trying to tell. I'm
there?
telling the story.
Oh. I like how you don't tell anyone.
Hey, they're supposed to pick it up.
The _lack_of_ context.
Hey, that'd be a good t-shirt.
Shy meaning being reserved or having or showing nervousness or timidity in the company of other people. Thanks, Margaret.
People don't get the difference between shy and introverted.
To me, shy meant that for the first 25 to 30 years of my life, I constantly hid behind other people. Mm-hmm. I hid behind their activities, their voice, their emotions, their wants, dreams, desires. I hid because, for some reason, it was physically and mentally painful for me to show myself.
It's true.
My face and body would react. Blushing was an absolute regular occurrence, and whatever I could do to hide in my 6-foot frame, I did. I like how you're quoting yourself, like third person.
Yeah.
I was excited for this sociology class. I'd heard Professor Jobst was one light to make a scene. To go so far as to hang by one hand out the classroom window in order to make a point. I've always liked people that embrace the fun. I could also tell that Jobst was someone that would, quote unquote, see me. You're 6 feet tall. Who's not going to see you? I like how you're hiding, I'm hiding from Professor Jobst, but he sees me.
Can you do the audio for my book one day?
And as I discovered later that quota, he was one of the first adults in my life, outside of my family, to truly see me. Oh my gosh. This is... Okay, I know something that is like really messing me up right now.
Yeah.
And that is that your family on road trips would read Harlequin novels. And this is reading like a Harlequin novel.
Perfect.
Hey, you're writing. It's the author, so it should be first person, but you're writing in third person. And then you're writing with this idealized, romanticized
there you go.
relationship with this professor who doesn't even know who you are because you're hiding your 6-foot frame behind Duke, the nose tackle of the football team.
Oh my God, this is the best.
But then you imagine in your brain that he sees you.
Welcome to my head.
He discovered my intelligence and emotional intelligence within the writing of our work we had to submit. He knew right away when a group project truly wasn't a quote-unquote group effort. I need to teach you how to use quotes. You don't need quotes around group. I was sitting there when this boy arrived early, naked and afraid. No, I added that. I was sitting there when this boy
if he was naked,
arrived early and came straight to the back of the room and sat beside me. Out of all the chairs in the room, seriously? I glanced up and immediately blushed. He was handsome and definitely not shy. Oh my God, Margaret. This is the best thing I've ever read.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry.
His pants stuck to him like wet Kleenex. I made that part up. Okay.
Oh my God.
Out of all the chairs in the room, seriously? I glanced up and immediately blushed.
Have you ever thought about this?
Handsome and definitely not shy. Oh, he's so not shy. He was staring straight at me. He sees me. I found that most humans have a hard time approaching people directly and asking that question or stating their opinion. So I was taken aback by his obvious confidence. Jonathan obviously had no such issue approaching me.
God.
He said hello and proceeded to start a conversation with me every Tuesday and Thursday for the next 2 weeks. Continued in comments.
Okay, I have a new plan. I'm just going to write a post and then you can read it.
Oh my gosh. I can't. I'm going to run out of oxygen.
You've done enough. Let's leave the comments to them.
Let's leave the comments for everybody.
Oh my God,
this
that made
is
me cry.
what are you writing about? Oh, I have to go back to the beginning. I give you permission to be you today.
Yes.
Be shy, be hiding, be unseen, be seen.
Exactly.
Does this end in some sort of romantic tryst between Professor Jobst and Jonathan and you?
Oh my God, no. It's just me and Jonathan.
Don't.
Professor Jobst was a mentor. He wrote a recommendation for me to get into grad school. Oh my God, you're hysterical. Have you really ever thought about doing voiceovers? Because obviously that is where you need to go.
All right, ready? I found another from my favorite person.
Oh, okay.
This is the image that it goes with.
Okay, is that her?
Yep. I have to hydrate.
Wow, it doesn't even look like her.
All right. Jesse reads from Instagram.
Gotta come up with an image for that.
This is a new, this is from the account I read from last time. A different post. Butterfly emoji. Heart emoji.
I forgot the emojis.
Heart emoji. It's simple. He, king emoji, saw right through my poop emoji.
Oh my God, maybe we need to talk.
He walked through some of the poop emoji, holding my hand and drying my eyes. Most of all, he calls me out on my poop emoji. Not from a place of shame, blame, or even judgment. It is from the love nestled in his heart.
Nestled, that's a good word.
The song singing in his soul. He, for whatever reason, saw me.
Oh my God, it's like mine.
Sees me. And empowers me to be me.
Oh God.
Do you understand the correlations? You should be so afraid right now.
I'm really afraid.
You and this person are very closely aligned in being seen and being yourself.
Hey, you know?
I would wake up in moments of panic and disbelief in the middle of the night, greeted by cold sweats and scared.
Ooh.
This year has been horribly rough. king emoji. He always reminds me that it is okay to not be tough. I'd spend countless hours trying to connect the dots of cause and effect, only to realize that I need to drive through, quote unquote, this sense of always feeling alone, allowing myself to be defined by others, and questioning everything I ever held on to. This feeling of never fitting in, only to realize this is okay. It's okay to just be.
Aww.
I'm not afraid to share this part of me now. This post is to let you know you are not alone. It is okay to feel the way you do, and versus numbing it, nurse it. Communicate. Pick up the phone. Share with the ones you know you can trust. I have to say, it breaks my heart emoji at times when I hear the awful things people say about me in moments they were not a part of. Only if you truly fucking knew the truth. Hashtag truth. But would it matter? I'm reminded that energy is not burned or exhausted, but more so in exchange. Versus transferring my energy to a negative state, I have learned to pause and ask myself to consider the other side and truly dive into the motions of is it worth it? Did I listen? Am I taking this personal? Why? Is it me? Is it them? Doesn't matter. Life does not have to be hard. We make it hard. I'm forever hashtag grateful that we, queen emoji, king emoji, took the path we did, as the feeling I have in my heart emoji, was never felt so real. Fire, desire, determination, safe, well-loved, alive, and no longer numb. It does not dismiss the dark nights or melancholy days. They come in waves. And finger pointing down emoji. The worthwhile problems are the ones you can really solve or help solve. The ones you can really contribute something to. You are never nameless to your mother, father, brother, sister, child, friend, or lover.
Or lover.
Dropping the mic now. End scene.
End scene.
What? You guys are the same.
You know what I think that we might be finding some similarities in is just the cry of the woman. You know, the need for females to feel seen. I identify with that. And that was hysterical. Especially, I enjoy your reading of the emojis. So I'm obviously going to have to add more to my posts because there's not enough.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I'm very perplexed. I'm worried you need help.
I mean, when do I not? That's more the question. I always need help.
Next week, we will have Manners with Margaret.
Oh, Manners with Margaret. Does that mean I need to come with a manner I want to talk about?
Yeah, you got to talk about some manner you want to,
God, there's so many. All right.
So many.
There's so many.
How to sit in the back and not be seen and yet seen. Be you. No matter what you do.
That's perfect. Oh, God, that was a lot of laughing. That was so funny.
Jonathan.
Yeah.
Was he a real person?
Oh, yeah. He was hot.
Did you kiss Jonathan?
Oh, hell yeah. We dated for about 4 months.
Oh, look at this.
That was my first love.
First love.
Mm-hmm. Head over heels. Water polo player. God.
Yeah. Wings like an albatross.
Like an albatross. Oh, God. I never thought I was really into muscles or anything like that, but he was really, muscly. That's good.
Is this Valentine's Day getting you all worked up?
Totally, yeah.
Are you being melancholy?
Not at all, no.
Are you being nostalgic?
No, I've never had a boyfriend on Valentine's Day or any holiday.
Any holiday?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure there's smaller holidays that have happened in between, but no, which is actually was part of like what prompted my post was that it's nice because it doesn't give me any attachment to any of these Hallmark holidays. So I love Valentine's Day because I love red, I love hearts, and my mom always made it fun, but not because I've ever had I've never had a Valentine's Day date, nothing, and I'm totally cool with it. I'd rather have a date every other day. That's not a holiday.
I'd rather date the other 350 days.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I'm more of a regular day kind of girl.
Oh my God.
I don't really believe in. I don't really do holidays.
Yeah.
Not for dates.
Not for dates. No, I don't date on the holidays. New Year's Eve, I'm not available. No.
I'm Jehovah's Witness when it comes to dating on holidays.
Oh God.
Do you know that Jehovah's Witness, they don't celebrate holidays?
I forgot that until you said that, but yeah.
One of my first,
no holidays, right?
Okay, not first love, but you know that first attraction.
Mm-hmm.
My first attraction was to a girl. That was Jehovah's Witness.
Really?
J-Dub.
Was it because she came to your door?
No, she went to school with me from first grade till she moved away. I want to say like in 6th grade, probably.
Why'd you like her?
Oh, she was cute. She liked me too. You know, that's a thing, right? Like how you can just like someone because they like you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it feels good to feel liked.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, you obviously have good taste. You are obviously intelligent and bright.
I like you too.
I
for
like
that
you
reason.
too.
God, that's so true. That's so true. Yeah.
And then 3 months later, that shine can only last about 3 months, by the way.
I think that's a good amount. You've told me this about your relationships before, and I agree with you.
I definitely have like windows of time in my life. I don't know if that's me or if that's everybody, but if I can make it 3 months with someone, then I can make it like 3 years with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because I'm that intolerant.
Yeah,
that
and people can't make it past that 3 mark. It's not going to happen. Yeah,
I'm off. I'm on to something else.
Yeah.
I'm doing something else.
Well, no, that relationship with Jonathan was only like 4 months long, but it seemed like forever. It seemed like 2 years.
My relationship with Jonathan ended that period.
But it's what you just described. He liked me so much that I think I was like, oh, wow, I like you.
He sees me.
Yeah. And then, though, I think it was about the 3rd or 4th month in where we were driving somewhere, and he was like, what are you thinking about? And I was like, nothing. He was like, nothing? How can you be thinking about nothing right now? And I'm like, because I am. And from that point forward, it was over. It just crumbled. Yeah.
You got to know when to lie in your relationship, Margaret.
Oh, God. I'm thinking about everything. I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about everything.
What are you thinking about? World peace. My contribution, my legacy. That's what you should say. My legacy.
Yeah. My legacy. Yeah. Oh, God. Do you have like a funny date story that you've... like that was just like went awful that you could share?
I don't know. I mean,
you got married. You got married fairly young, but then
but I dated quite a bit before I got married.
Mm-hmm.
In high school, there was this girl that I was really attracted to, and I was a couple years older than her, and I was friends with her sister. So her sister was in my grade, and then she was so I was probably a junior and she was a freshman in high school, and I thought she was super attractive. I was really attracted to her, and our first kiss, she tasted like,
oh God,
the Polish dog from Costco. And it killed everything. So hard.
Fresh breath, people.
Oh my gosh. I remember it so vividly.
Yeah.
It was like,
you've talked about this before. It definitely is stuck in your mind.
It scarred me for life, and I could not get over it.
That's so weird.
Like, I ended it very fast because I didn't want to.
That's so bizarre. Why did her breath smell like that?
Because some people are most people are less hygienic than I am.
Yeah.
I am super sensitive to that stuff.
God, that's a good one.
But, yeah, that'll kill a relationship.
Polish dog
Don't let
breath.
your first kiss taste like anything.
Ugh.
other than
like mint.
Mint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Polish dog girl. Poor chick.
But other than that, I think I've blocked out any bad dates.
Yeah.
I didn't go on I didn't blind date, and I didn't do apps really.
Yeah.
So I usually try to develop a friendship. Or, I like usually try to figure out on the friend level if it's gonna
if it'll work
or not.
Relationship advice with Jesse.
Oh yeah, new segment. Yeah, that you're writing reminds me of like. Well, we've talked about The Bachelor recently.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. My daughter won't watch this season. Like, she's over it.
Why?
Because he's terrible. He
is terrible.
Bachelor.
Yeah.
And he's terrible because he's a little boy and he doesn't know what he wants. And it was so funny because Hannah A., one of these last episodes.
Oh, yeah.
She wrote down all the reasons why she loved him. But it was like in her like 7th grade journal. Yeah. And she like ripped it out. It was like on 7th grade floral paper.
Yeah.
And it was like a 7th grade act. The whole thing was a 7th grade act. Mm-hmm. Let me count the ways. But it was like, it was terrible. And he's like, I love it. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And he always picks drama over stability.
Yeah. This last episode I watched with my brother and sister-in-law, and we were just like, he's left with a bunch of really young ladies.
No, to the point where the other girls are not attracted to him anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
And so this show is getting...
I turned to my brother and I was like, he looks like shit. And Matt was like, yeah. He's been through hell. And I missed the episode of wherever he got the scar on his head from whatever happened. I was just like...
And that was super lame. Like, he just was getting into the back of a golf cart.
Yeah.
And he lowered his head, but his head hit the back of the top of the golf cart. Uh-huh. And then he was holding a drink. And so when he hit his head, the drink went to his forehead.
Oh, that's lame.
So, yeah, he's just in bad... drunk, basically.
God.
Yeah.
This is a perfect way to end this episode.
Oh, it is.
With some love stories.
Margaret,
Valentine's
this has been a great episode. And this is a perfect way to end it.
Oh, God.
I like to be seen and not seen. I am like
I have to tell
camouflage.
You, we got a comment, not publicly. She didn't, but she messaged me on Instagram and she just said, I have to tell you that your podcast and the things that you put out there, but specifically she mentioned the podcast, has really kept her inspired throughout the year. So she listens to every week, and she's not with Keller Williams. She's with Century 21, I think, out in Iowa. And it was so sweet because sometimes it's people like that don't always speak up and say something. But when she said that, I was like, thank you for saying that. Like sometimes I think we just don't get feedback as often because we have a lot of quiet listeners. But she really has appreciated all of our content. So I just had to mention that to you on this Valentine's Day from our listeners.
Well, I'm happy that we entertain. Mm-hmm. I am. Well, happy Valentine's Day.
Yes, happy Valentine's Day.
On this Valentine's Day, I encourage you to write down your thoughts. To be seen or not seen. To be heard or not heard.
Yeah, can they write a poem?
And throw in some emojis. It'd be hilarious if we picked out the emojis for people to use and they had to include it in the story.
Yes. Write us a poem on social media. Tag us and use these 3 emojis.
Okay. Do the emoji with the mask, like the coronavirus emoji.
The mask? Okay.
Yeah, like the medical mask.
Yes.
And let me I gotta do
the poop emoji?
No, not poop emoji. Let's do oh, there's a fairy. There's like a Tinkerbell emoji now.
Yeah.
Tinkerbell emoji.
Tinkerbell.
Man, there's a bunch of new emojis. Where'd these come from?
Has it been a while since you've been in your emojis?
And then a bikini emoji.
Bikini, okay.
And then lastly, a dinosaur emoji.
A dinosaur, okay. All right, I'll put that challenge out there. Over the next week, we'll see how many people before next Friday do something. And there will be a prize. I don't know what it is yet. For the best use of those emojis.
Oh, do we want to tell people what book we're reading next so they can follow along?
Yes.
You do. Shall we?
We shall.
Okay, thanks for answering that question so earnestly. We are reading The Road Less Stupid.
By Keith Cunningham.
So, as a team, we'll be reading that. We're reading through the first 5 chapters for next week. We have quite a few people that have asked to join us in reading our book and talking about it. So, there you go. Pick up a copy of the book, read through chapter 5 if you want to follow along. Until then, be you. Be a queen or a king or a jester. Just be you.
I love it.